Hi, my name is Ethan Heck, and this is the effects of ecological landscapes on salamander abundance. I'm a junior at Union College in Barberville, Kentucky. This was my project through the ACA and Ledford Scholar this summer, and I worked with Professor Libby Magna. The Appalachian Mountains have the greatest salamander diversity in the entire world, where over 55 species inhabit the entire mountain range. What ecological variables are associated with abundance? This is the question that I just ultimately decided to research this summer. And turns out there haven't been that many survey type studies that look at all salamander species rather than just one or two. Finding out what variables impact abundance can improve conservation methods and our understanding of how we as humans impact salamanders. I had 12 sites across 2 locations. One location was Turner Outdoor Center, which is a former cycling area with very little human impact. It's an open forested area. Indian Springs Golf Course is a golf course that's built on an old coal mine, which means it has very high levels of human impact. Each site was composed of one of each of the following: a coverboard, one transect, and one plot. During the research period, the following variables were collected for use in occupancy modeling. For detection, I collected temperature, precipitation, and time. And for occupancy, I performed soil tests that tested for lead, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. And I also recorded canopy cover, pH, aspect, and I also tested for arthropod density. And you can see the figure on the right shows how I done that using a Burley's funnel. Once the research period was complete, data was imported to R to be used in occupancy models, which, if you don't know what that is, turns out salamanders are quite difficult to find. So occupancy modeling ultimately helps us correct for imperfect detection, because just when I was out in the field and didn't find any salamanders at a specific site doesn't mean they aren't there. So this is my results from occupancy modeling. As you can see on the right, this is the variables that ultimately showed a real impact on salamander abundance. And our first model was composed of temperature and precipitation. And for the site level variables, it was lead and arthropods. And that was our lowest AIC value, which is a way of gauging how good a model is. And it's like golf, a lower AIC is better. And our second model was also temperature and precipitation, but this time canopy cover and arthropod density. And its delta AIC was only 0.63, so both of those models were very close together. And over here on the left are all the variables that didn't have any impact, which is time, aspect, pH, potassium, phosphorus, and nitrogen. Despite a small sample size, results indicate a significant correlation between precipitation and abundance. This was a positive correlation. And as you can see on the right here in the scatter plot, as precipitation increases, our count also tends to increase. Canopy cover and salamander abundance, this was also a positive correlation. And arthropod numbers and salamander abundance, which is a negative correlation. And at first we weren't quite sure why we were seeing this, but one study has looked at this, and it turns out the salamanders act as top-down regulators in sites they occupy, meaning where salamanders are, you can expect to have less arthropods since they are a part of the salamander's diet. Link between higher leg counts and higher arthropod density, there's no real study to indicate why we saw this trend. It could be due to a small sample size or the 2 locations. With more time, the sample size could be increased and more tests could be performed. Salamander populations likely decrease if climate change continues at its current rate. Studying the ecological variables the most important to salamanders will help us improve our conservation methods. Through this research, I gained experience in coding and R and gained many field biology skills. Finally, I'd like to say thanks to the ACA and Union College for this opportunity, and thanks to Professor Libby Magna for mentoring me throughout this research.